Yeah. All right. Hey there, everybody. We're live. Good morning. It's Saturday. That's last week's painting right there. We'll get something going here in a little bit. And we've got Jonathan on the line. Say hey, Jonathan. There he
Hey
is.
everyone.
He's got a good, happy morning face. He's our host today because Ben's out doing something. He got called in today, so Jonathan's filling in. And so we got to figure out what we're gonna paint. Oh yeah, hey, let's get your volume. I'm just now realizing that maybe we don't have. No, we got good volume on you. I got my computer volume down. We can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
All right. On my end, I just see you in the chat room. Maybe I've got my view is not updated, but it might be just me and you, Jonathan. What do you think?
Score then. I get a one-on-one live session that I get a direct half of it. So
yeah. All right. Nice.
We'll just do whatever I want today.
Yeah. Well, we're just here to hang out. You know, this isn't like a big paid production. People don't pay to come here. I'm eating my breakfast. So, since nobody's around, I'm just gonna take a couple bites of my fresh made rabbit stew. Man, it was a cool thing. I got a neighbor that taught me how to prepare rabbit. That was a new thing I learned this year. It was really fun. Maybe that's not fun for everybody, but I like it better than buying chicken at the grocery store.
You could paint a tribute to the rabbit you're eating, like a memorial for your rabbit, and then you
That'd be cool.
feel bad.
Yeah, that does. I have to admit, I don't love the idea of eating a cute rabbit, but they lived a good life as far as rabbits goes. They they were treated well.
There's a comedian, Nate Bargatze. I don't know if I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but
okay.
One of his sketches was, I don't want to eat a free-range chicken. That chicken had a dream. That chicken had a good life. I want to eat one of those chickens that's living a bad life. One of them's like, I'm ready for this. Like,
yeah, right. Justifying the poor treatment of farmed chickens, right?
No, just justifying killing the chicken because they were treated poorly.
Oh, okay. Well, it's similar. Okay.
The free-range ones, how do you justify taking their life? They were living a good life.
They're living a good life, yeah, and you ended it. But I would say philosophically speaking, it has to end at some point. Do you want to end on a bad note or a good one?
Yeah, donate your life to something.
Yeah, I mean, mine's gonna end.
Apparently.
I mean, if we're being literal, something's going to eat me.
America Marcy's on board, and
hey, all right.
Good with your rabbit stew. She's got a little
nice
rabbit and stew in there in the comments.
Nice. That's cool. It's exciting. I like learning new things, and that was pretty exciting to learn how to do that. I guess it used to be a lot more popular farming rabbits instead of chicken. At some point in our history, became a lot more popular to have chicken, but it's real healthy.
Hear a lot of I don't know the last time I heard someone eating rabbit.
Yeah, it's not common. But
it used to be common in other countries. That in the United States, it's just our culture or law just say you can't eat that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think culture has become a lot less survival oriented as time goes on, and so cute things that maybe get a little bit higher priority now than they used to. That's just theorizing here. But if something's cute, obviously, if something exactly, you get to live if you're beautiful.
If you're pretty. Oh, that's a bad.
Yeah. It's the reality. It's the reality of it. Nobody feels terrible when something unpretty gets killed. Okay, I shouldn't say that. That's not fair to the people that genuinely want to preserve all life. That's not being completely
well. It's not fair to people that are not as attractive either.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What are you saying about the rest of us, Joe?
No, what I mean is saying that we don't feel bad about things things that get killed that are not pretty is unfair.
Yeah, culture
Unfair.
definitely
People,
has.
there are people that
biases
feel
for
that.
sure.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. And you get going on these jokes and you end up saying something dumb. I'm trying to open this black.
That's my biggest fear joining you on this call. Is what is the dumb thing that I will say today that I'll kick myself for down the road?
Right, it'll be like that was live. Don't worry, we can delete the video.
Okay.
There we go. I had to open. I'm not trying to drink paint. I had to. It does kind of.
That's what
I had to open it. I needed something stronger than my fingers to open that top. Need flat.
We got 14 watching now, so
nice. All right, we filled up the room.
Come.
Okay,
Joe was saying, let's not start the live stream yet. There's only one person waiting. So
yeah, I did. I did.
Getting started. You got to get the ball rolling somehow.
That's it. You got to just start going. That's kind of how I feel about the painting itself. It's kind of like getting a bike. You wobble a lot when you first get on a bike, but you need you have to get through. You have to just start moving so that you can take the momentum. Yeah. You can't wait until you're going to have a clean start, because that's not the way it works. You motion first, then you clean it up. That's kind of how I feel about the creative process.
American Marcy recommends you add a bottle opener to your wall, a bucktooth bottle opener.
Dude, that'd be really cool. Just put it on the wall and pull. I'm dealing with this is a new idea, this kind of bottle. I was using just the squeeze tubes, but this seems like a altogether a better design for me. It does a better job of closing and preserving the paint. But
yeah, I've noticed that with my paint containers. I've tried all kinds of things, and having it close really good makes a big difference. A little bit of a close is not enough.
Okay. I'm going to change up this scene a little bit. If you got a good idea for a painting, shoot it my way. Or if somebody else wants to chime in and say what we should be painting this morning, I'm all ears.
Maybe that's what American Marcy meant. She didn't mean a bucktooth bottle opener on your wall. Maybe she meant she wanted you to
on the painting,
bucktooth bottle opener on a wall.
On a wall in the paint. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pass. That's a great idea, but I'm gonna pass on that one. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We've got Ariella joining us. She says good morning. Raluca,
welcome.
Christina says good morning.
Welcome, Christina. Ariella.
Where are you all from?
Nice. That's good. I'm glad we got some people showing up. You know what? I was looking at some trees this morning, admiring how beautiful they were. And I was thinking, they're not that green. That rich colored morning sunlight comes across our ponderosa pine forest. You have some ponderosa pines there in California, don't you, Jonathan?
Yeah, actually,
you got a good amount of those.
School's named after those.
Yeah, I've been up there. They look a little different than the ones here, but similar enough. Same effect. Well, when the colorful sun comes across those, you get this real orange brown shade of green. It's hardly green at all. You pretty much lose the green, and it's beautiful. So I was thinking, this is a good example of relative color, because we can perceive the green trees illuminated by a golden sun, but it's like definitely not a green color. It's creating it.
Joe, people are picking up on something being different this week. I think everyone joined after we did introductions, and they're saying, "You're not Ben. Who's this imposter?"
Oh, yeah. Who is this guy? Yep, Ben's off. He took the morning off. He had some work to do. He got called into work, he said. He does, we do have jobs. We do these live streams for free on Saturday, just as a fun way to hang out. But it's not, it doesn't always fit the schedule, so we got to let Ben do his thing this morning. He got called in.
I'm Jonathan. You guys have seen me in the chats. Mm-hmm. So Joe asked me to fill for Ben.
I was getting to that. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
This is Jonathan. No, my bad.
I don't wait for introductions, Joe. I just hop in there.
Yeah, thanks to Jonathan. On a moment's notice last night, I was like, "Hey, Jonathan, do you want to fill in for Ben? He's got to work." So,
and then I scrambled to try to not look bad.
Yeah,
get my camera set up, get my audio set up.
Yeah, well, you know, it's raw. It's raw here. We're not like the clean edited version of entertainment here.
Yeah.
All right, I like this color. So here's my thinking. I want to do a real nice. I like this color scheme. I was thinking I'm going to change the concept here without completely destroying it. I'm going to put some sun rays coming across a distant pine forest. I wanted to see my colors first, but notice that this, because the color scheme is already very orange in this picture, that this has that look I'm talking about of being a not so intense green that's illuminated by orange light. And so the way I made that color was with orange, yellow, and black. So it's not your typical way. And I've seen painting after painting use green well, it's a, you know, you can use a great green, but it can overpower the other colors in the picture. And I think the valuable takeaway is that green and brown are just not that far apart in color in a real landscape. They're just not that different if you're thinking of all the colors that are in there. So I want to use that. I want to use that concept to do some nice looking illuminated colors. So I'm going to pre-mix a color here. I had these, I did a little test on the canvas, but this will speed up my process. If I put my highlight color in, if I pre-mix that, get it in here so that I can just keep reusing it and not have to remix it. Something I know I'm going to use a lot of. I'll just do it like this. So we got black, yellow, orange. Now I'm going to put some white in it as well so that it's not too too dark. Yeah, well, if I don't put white, then I can't do my background foreground. You know, you can take away your opportunity to have nice depth by making your backgrounds too rich with color. So just as a habit, I always dilute the colors if I know I'm doing something in the distance. All right, there we go. Nice muddy
So
color.
Raluca wants to know if you've ever painted a city skyline like New York or Chicago with the river.
Oh, I have painted a city skyline. I have indeed done that. I have a video on YouTube painting Dallas. Is it Dallas? Austin. No, painting Austin, Texas. Did that, but I didn't do the river. Boy, I saw that river. I saw what's the river that goes through New York? I don't know what that river is.
I don't know either.
Yeah, well, I just did that. I just saw that for the first time in like a year ago, a couple years ago, I think. Boy, the time just runs together for me anymore. I just saw that a couple years ago for the first time. Amazing. Driving up to that skyline, I feel so small. Man, that was really something to see. So,
Swamp Art says they think it's the Delaware River, but they're not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know, it's that famous strip in New York where you've got that long walkway that goes all across the city and along the river. I think, man, that's a pretty cool place. Neat place to visit. I like my mountain town better. All right.
Yep. So you've got people joining from.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You got people joining from all over the world here. We've got
nice.
American Marcy from Montana. You've got Will from Virginia. You've got Ralucas from Romania.
Wow. All right. Nice. Good having people here. Thanks for showing up, everybody. This is great. All right. Time to paint some trees. So my tree highlight color is a key component of this picture. So we're going to see how that comes out. I got this. I'm going to try out this brush. You know, this brush, I'm going to get a camera on this brush so you can see. This brush is one that I chopped up so that I could get certain effects with it. So you can see it's got long bristles. It's more on the wide side than, you know, if you compare it to this brush. I really like this chisel shape, but look how thin this one is. This one gets real sharp lines. Well, this one, it's a wider design. Okay, so my point is, this brush I did so I could do lettering. Actually, I did it so that I could use those long bristles, and I chopped the edges so that I wouldn't get this. It's hard to make curved lines with this long square shape. So that allowed me to get smooth lines, but in the process, I made something that ended up being very good for doing like dabbing texture that also doesn't look overly square shaped like this brush will do. You'll see, I'm going to use this. I'm going to see if this works good for my pine forest. We'll start putting our background layer on. So let's go in here.
Everyone wants to correct us, Joe. It's the Hudson River. So
Hudson River. Thank you. That's the river.
Straight here.
That's very good. No, I appreciate that very much. I was looking for the name of that. The Hudson River. Yeah, we got a hotel right close to the Hudson River. An amazing experience. I really liked that. I felt like I was in 100 American movies. You know, it's just such a common scene.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Touring places that are in the movies and feeling like you're there all the time.
Yeah. You know, I always see places that are iconic, and I'm like, oh, it's just like in the movies. You know, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, I've got black. I probably put it on too thin. I'm gonna put some white on this black and make the layer a little heavier. So when you sense paint drying quickly, you can feel it in the brush. You know, I can feel it getting tacky. That's what I mean by sense it drying. I don't mean like any magical power. I sense the paint drying.
Okay, well, Luca's got it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I thought it sounded funny when I said when you sense the paint drying quickly.
Oh yeah, you sense it with your hands. You just like
I sense it. Yeah,
feels like it's fine. Luca's got a question for you.
Let's hear it. I love questions.
How much detail do you use to give life to your paintings?
You don't need much detail at all. Actually, hardly any detail is required. I think the important thing is doing a good job with the amount of detail that you choose. So whenever you add detail, every detail you introduce has potential to wreck your picture. So there's a way to connect the detail that doesn't destroy your concept. But as long as there's no detail, imagination fills it in. You know, you can just do a few lines and call it something, and it may be just perfect for the job. If you don't do something that makes conflict. So in this, I'm just making some simple gradients, each brush stroke, in order to make this look like a forest of trees. I'm not putting extreme detail in here, but the detail I have has some criteria, and that criteria is a gradient. I have a gradient that is more of this brown highlight color that I mixed at the top, and the way I'm dabbing the brush blends it into the shadow color that I made. So I can put a bunch of dabs on here. You know, I'll just put a bunch of dots. Let me show you what I mean. Now, right now they don't look great, but I just hit them a few more times in close to the same area, and look how the bottom edge of each one of these turns into more of a gradient blend down into that shadow. See how now they have a softer blend down. It's just a couple touches. So when I first started trying to figure out how to make nice looking forests like this, forest textures from a distance, I was caught up in details. I was trying to find the right brush to get the shape of a tree, and I just wasn't picking up that's the most important pattern. I wasn't picking it up. And you know, you stare at a problem long enough, it starts to come clear to you, because you just get high exposure to the things that work better and the things that don't. So there was just a point when I realized that every stroke that has that gradient looks way better. That's when it looks the best, is when it has that gradient. So it's it's the way I put the details that I choose rather than the right amount of details. That's important. All right. I did that patch. Now I'm ready for another. I've got a, I could make an area that's more dense here. Let's make this one have an area that's even more dense with trees. Let's put a whole bunch of that lighter brownish color in there.
So everyone's asking, and I know the answer, but the question's out there is, will you review some art today if people send it in?
Absolutely. I forgot some. Yes, send it in. I'll spend a good long time doing it today. I'll make sure we get a lot of them. I totally spaced it last week. I feel bad about that. People sent in work and I saw it when it was too late. I think
the exchange with Ben hopping off and trying out.
Yeah, it distracted me. I got
getting people on from the audience.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I did that. I do care about, I really appreciate people sharing the work. I like looking at it. I didn't mean to skip it there. So I'm just adding enough white that this background stays back, just stays in the back, because when I put a close tree out, which I'll do later, it'll really make it pop out. All right, more trees. We're just going to dab in a bunch of pine trees here. Happy little trees, happy little forest. See, this brush has a nice blunt shape rather than a sharp line. So, maybe I can like tilt it to get some different angles. But this is something that I learned along the way, was that I can just put a bunch of messy splotches on and then just touch them a few more times, and it's way more efficient than trying to get the right shape. I'm just touching the lower half of all of these spots that I created, and you see it blends it into that base that I put on, and we get that 3D texture. Imagination will do the rest. You don't have to get.
Do you do anything to get a mix of colors on the brush so that the top of your brush is one color, or are you using one color and just the paint that's on the canvas is what's giving you a gradient?
Well, I would say yes. I do get both colors on the brush, but it just happens in that dabbing process. This one I started with only the highlight color, but it picks up that shadow color, which ends up being a good thing, because it gets to the point where I'm dipping the long corner of it in each time, and this lower part of the bristles ends up having more exposure to the shadow color. And so then it gets to a point where I'm in a rhythm of it, constantly creating that gradient on. Sometimes it gets to the point, probably more with bigger brushes that hold more paint, it gets to the point where I don't even have to go back and do any blending, because a single touch gets the gradient that I'm after. But these, not so. I need to touch it a couple more times to get that gradient, which is no big deal. I can just move along, put a bunch of dabs in here, and then wherever I see a circle instead of a gradient, I just touch the bottom of it. And then I get that shape there. Okay, I'll stop there. I might fill in that section a little more, but I've got my color pre-mixed, so I don't have to finish it all right now. I'm gonna put something bluer behind it. Let's do a layer that's not in the sun. That'll be kind of fun. Let's take something, add some purple to that same black.
So do you already know where you're going with this, or you just know if I add some purple here, something cool?
I have an idea. I have kind of a blurry idea in my mind, because when I was driving to my studio this morning, I saw some pretty scenery, and I thought, yeah, it wouldn't be bad to paint something like that. And that's kind of where I get my inspiration from, is just, instead of carrying a camera with me, I just log it mentally and think, you know what, next time I'm looking for ideas to paint, I'm going to paint something like that.
So if anyone wants to send the art, the address is share@muraljoe.com.
That's it. Yeah, simple email, share@muraljoe.com. Yeah, do it. I want to see it. We'll get to that in a little bit. What do you think? Should we set aside a big block for looking at artwork, or should we disperse it? What's your opinion? I'm not sure what's the
well, if you want to play it safe, you could throw it in the middle, and then if you run out of art to share, you can go back to finishing your painting.
Yeah, okay, let's throw it in the middle. I like that. This is going to be a real distant layer that has sun rays. You know, atmosphere can change colors all over the place. You might have one layer in your picture that has a lot of the color of the light source because, you know, maybe some sun rays are passing in front of it. So no details necessary here, but if I put details, if I'm going to try to make trees, I want to think about the scale. So I want this to look far away. So the details I put in, I'm going to make real tiny trees here like this. They'll probably just get painted over in a minute, but just as an example, I'm using the tiny end of this brush, you know, just showing that the details I make, I want to, you know, think about the criteria there. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that setup of those colors. Let me shift the camera a little bit. We'll zoom out a little and get some sky gradient. Let's do a little bit of sky gradient. We'll get rid of last week's gradient in there. The sky doesn't have to be blue. You can make it like a dusky morning color. Let's see what we can come up with here.
Well, Joe, you and I have talked about before, you can make something look blue just by the other colors around it looking less
Absolutely,
blue.
yeah.
Everything's the yellow or brown, and then you put a little bit of blue in one of those yellows, and your eyes pick up that it's blue, even though the color standing alone would be brown.
Here's something kind of fun. You know, you can create a blue with these colors. Look, here is a primary purple color. There's a phthalo green, and this is similar to a printer using magenta and cyan. You know, magenta is more red than this purple. Cyan is more blue than this green, but similar concept. If I take purple and green, it's going to make a shade of blue. And I've used that before in paintings for my blue because it allows me to never go too blue. It locks, you know, there's a max blue that you can reach, and sometimes too intense of a blue can get in the way. You know, it's kind of a safeguard against getting, when you know that you don't want an intense blue in your picture from the start, this can be a nice way to create a bluish hue, is by using the green and the purple instead. Then you get kind of a stormy blue.
I would have never thought of that if I didn't watch your videos.
Yeah, this is one of those little things that just happens from tinkering. It's a tinkering tip, you know. You just try stuff, and you're like, "Huh, that's a nice little tool to keep in the back pocket."
Yeah.
So we're going.
Well, people are sure missing your brother, Joe. They're posting they miss Ben. They're trying to talk to Ben. Where's Ben?
Where's Ben, man? Well, don't feel bad, Jonathan.
Over here.
Don't take it personal, Jonathan. You know.
No, I don't. It's great to have you and your brother. I love when you guys share your stories about growing up and the perspective that it gives of hearing how, from two brothers, what their life is like growing up, and their two different perspectives. It changes a lot of my own views of my own growing up.
Okay, that's cool. Do you have brothers? Do you have siblings, sisters, brothers?
Yeah, I have 6 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
And my sister has...
Boy, that's a lot. 6
brothers. My sister actually might be watching right now. I'll probably embarrass myself in front of her. I don't remember how many boys she has. She's got more boys than I can ever remember how to count. And then she had 7 brothers, and she had lots of boys, and so she forced the issue and adopted a girl.
Wow. You guys, you have a family that likes family. That's cool.
Family that likes family, and a family that is very bad at having girls. It's not one of our skills.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Not in our genes. I think we have 2 Y chromosomes. So no matter what you do, you're going to get a boy.
Huh, interesting. I don't know how that works. You know, my mom tried. She wanted a girl. She really did want a girl. She kept on going. We got 5 boys. And each time she was hoping for a girl, But it doesn't mean she was disappointed with boy. It's just that, when you're building your family, you can't help but hope that you get one thing or the other. Nothing wrong with having hopes, but she was a wonderful mom. She was always very proud of her boys, but it's just a funny story how she kept trying for a girl. It didn't happen.
Yeah, I think that's how big families happen. Is you want one more girl, or you want a girl, and maybe the next one, maybe it's the lottery, and you keep losing, and you end up with a big family.
Yeah, that's it. It's a win-win. Family is one of the most wonderful treasures in life. It's not like you lose for having family.
Yeah, 5 boys makes up for having one girl. It's the equivalent. You can have 1 girl or 5 boys, and you get the same results.
Yeah. Nice. Hey, here's a concept we're going to get into. I'm going to pull up a picture from I can't remember the name, but we'll get to it. Someone sent in one with snow. I'm going to talk in a little bit about painting snow. And so when you're painting clouds, snow, or light, things that are real light colors, there's a gradient of color involved in balancing the change of value, meaning how bright it is, the change of brightness, with the change of color is a very key component of capturing the natural glowing look of it. So that came up. It's a real important thing. So in all of my all these gradients, there's the use of color change along with brightness change. And in order to get a gradient to glow, I want it to change color as it changes brightness at a balanced rate. So if you change one a lot faster than the other, you can get some weird looks. All right, I'm going to use my purple green combo in this black. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when I put those 2 colors on and see this. Ooh, that's kind of nice. I like the look of that. Little bit more of that distant gray blue look than what was on there.
That does look cool. I like the mix of those colors.
Yeah, it has it. Yeah, I know. I'm glad you said that, because when I put them on, it's very satisfying. First of all, just the putting them on with a brush. It's like, yeah, it looks cool to see a mix. It's therapeutic, kind of using these. I'm just using white for a highlight because these are only under the light of a pale colored sky. They are not getting the direct light that I've staged over here. So these, I'm just going to dab this white until it's dark enough to look like not a bright light source. I don't want to go too bright. Once again, balancing the value change with the color change. And I'm using the same technique with a different brush to get smaller trees. This brush is skinnier than the ones I did this with. So this is a fatter brush. This is a skinnier brush. And you can see my scale is a little bit, well, I don't know if I did a great job. It was intended to be. Now that I'm looking at it, the scale's not that different. Anyway, my intention was to make these trees small. That was the intention. We can all appreciate good intentions, right?
I think we can. Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah.
Greatest of intentions. And then for me, what I do is I have a great intention, and then I just blow it beyond anything achievable, and then I don't achieve it.
Yeah, okay. Right. Well,
I've had to learn to keep my intentions small.
Yeah. I think that's very relatable. That's very relatable. Before I was painting for customers, I was just trying to learn to paint, doing pictures for myself. And I always felt like my idea was fantastic, and I would hit the ground running, and I was like, man, I had this big vision, but I'm losing energy fast. And it was kind of like starting a race at a sprint. And then the inspiration died out the next day. And I was like, how am I going to finish this thing? I don't even know what to do next. And so it was like not practical intentions. I had not yet discovered the importance of painting on garbage practice boards. But painting for customers where I actually had to set aside time to figure out how to paint a certain effect or texture kind of saved my life as an artist. Kind of saved me that process of getting just like you described, getting the goal within practical reach,
But then they tell you to always stretch yourself too. So that's a balance you gotta find.
You're right. Yeah, you're right about that. It is a balance.
Stretching, but not stretching beyond the point of achieving, and you don't really know where that is either. So it's
no, but you can feel it. You can feel like I went too far, and then you can feel when you're like, this is easy. I could probably reach for more. You can feel your way through that. I think it's good practical advice to try to balance those. I agree with it. I think balance is super important. I'm always trying to balance things. I think in a metaphorical way, I'm always trying to balance colors. You can have all the right colors in a painting, but getting them to look just right is in the balance, not just the presence of all the right colors. You got to have the balance of the right colors.
So share more of your secrets with us. What is that balance? Like, give us some tips on what colors maybe you'd put more of, what colors would you use less of? What balance do you like to use?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question. I think it's highly contextual, I think so much just comes down to preference of an artist, and trial and error is my best friend when it comes to that question. I try to be someone who appreciates all styles and looks, try to appreciate what one piece has that another doesn't, because in my world, it's the customer that's right. This is kind of it's to please a customer, my work most of the time. And so I'm painting murals on walls, doing commission work. And so it really comes down to what they want. And a lot of the time the feedback I get from them gives me insight to why something is more liked. It gives me insight into, there's another opinion out there about this subject matter. This person wants to see much brighter tones here, darker tones there. People have different preferences,
Yeah, I'm sure they come into it with an expectation of how it should look. And even if artistically they're not, like, they don't understand the nuance of why you did what you did.
Yeah.
It doesn't match their expectation. To them, it's going to look wrong.
Right. And so then I end up learning a different style. I'm like, okay, well, they're after a different look than what I'm used to. I'll pull out what I think is my finest realism or something, and they're just not into it, and they're like, yeah, I was really looking for I was thinking that we were doing something more like this. And then I have to change it. And so going back to the original question, what's the right balance, is totally dependent, but knowing the dials to turn is more valuable, so that when you get a comment like that picture looks too realistic, too saturated, you get these subjective terms, you have good working tools for how to change it. So I think I just follow natural patterns of light to get a good look right at the beginning. And then I use the knowledge of those patterns to kind of turn the dials, but that's all just intuitive feel, that, so to speak, turning the dials, just changing the parameters of the picture. Well, for example, at this moment, I'm redoing these pine trees because I'm trying to get the right balance of lighter, grayer tone in this more distant cliff. That's why I just redid this, because this one's further away and I added a little white to this highlight color. But if I add too much white, then, it's the right color combo, but I had too much. I had the right, and it's just a small ratio difference. I mean, I redid this spot based on just one little brush dab too much of my white paint in there. but it changed the relationship of my distant hill. Now I'm very happy with that color balance. The first pass was at first too dark, then I added white and it was too white, but I knew that I needed to take this color and add white. It's just I did it too dark, then too light, and now I just, I like the look of that. And the end result is, do you like it or don't you? It's just, I like the look of it. So, we don't want to make it overly scientific.
Yeah. So you've got more people joining here. We've got people from France. I think I saw Australia.
Nice. Sweet. That's exciting.
Stage lighting and set artists joining you, people painting along with you.
All right, cool. I'm happy about that.
America Marcy wants, I think it was her that said that. Sorry if I got the wrong person here.
No, that's good.
They want to know if you've ever done live painting. Like Sturgis apparently has 250,000 people visit, and they have artists come paint live for a week. Have you heard of this?
What? I haven't heard of that. Tell me more about it. I'd like to hear. Sturgis?
Well, I would tell you more, but I just shared everything I knew about it from the
chat. That's it. I haven't done that. My dream is to travel and paint. Travel and paint with people. For me, it's not like this for everybody, but for me, painting is as you can see, a very social thing. Art, rather than saying painting, I want to say art is very social. I really love you just get into this mode where you're, it's hard to explain. It's not just about the art. When everybody's sitting in an art classroom, I experienced this just in high school art class, just very simple. When everyone's sitting in there doing artwork, there's kind of like this shift of mood in the room, because people aren't there for the typical reasons. It's like status kind of goes out the window. Egotistical remarks kind of don't really have a place. There's this vulnerability that everybody shares, and it affects the way you socialize, and you end up having a real sweet time together. And I just really enjoy that. So I would love to just go around the world, meet people, and pull out canvas and paint with them. That's like my dream. I want that to happen.
Well, it sounds like Sturgis is one of those opportunities. It turns out not 750,000 a year. They all come in August. 750,000 just in August. So it sounds like a great place to get out and
so it's kind of about that.
Get people to notice you.
All right, cool. Well, I would love to look more into that. I've never done it. I hear there's a lot of real cool events. Well, a lot of places do. Someone else was telling me about one in Australia that happens every year. But like I said, I want to go do that everywhere.
Yeah.
There we go. We got some fog settling into the valley there. Trying to get
Camilla wants to know, comparing painting a painting versus a mural. How much more detail do you add to your murals? Her impression is that you're getting up close on the mural, so you need more details than a painting might have. What's your experience?
Well, right. It comes down to the viewing distance. So if you're doing a giant mural, but people are only going to look at it from far away, then you can duplicate this process with a giant brush and do it very quickly. So you don't always need to increase the detail when you increase the size. You can just use a bigger brush, and that's enough. There's other times when people will be getting close to the mural, and then the important question is what part of the mural, because we don't want to do this level of detail on a giant wall. That tends to, it's not that it can never be done, it's that it tends to be beyond practicality. It tends to be more than people can afford. So, when there's always scenarios when something especially extravagant gets accomplished, and it's real amazing, you know. So it's not ruling it out, but most of the time it's not practical to have this level of detail across a giant wall. And so it comes down to what is the part of the mural where people are going to really stare, and I'll put detail there. And instead of, and then I won't do as much detail on other parts of the mural where people don't want to spend a lot of time looking at the far edges of the picture. You know, there's not expectations. It's not disappointing if I leave detail out. It's not that they're not going to see it. It's just that it doesn't feel like it needs to be there. Okay. I'm trying to gradually add, I was actually adding my misty color to the highlights on that because I'm really trying to get a nice foggy look in this. I could just glaze it over, I'm not against that. It's just that I love color blending. That's kind of my MO. But you could just glaze this over. It might be a much simpler way to accomplish the same thing. Just water down.
But I don't think glazes is something that you've touched on a lot. I know something. Well, so maybe you can show us what do you do when you do a glaze? Teach us like
just this, water down the paint, right? This, I added a bunch of water to my brush. So you can see when I go over the beach, you can still see the beach under it. So that would be like glazing, and generally the term just refers to a thin enough layer that you just put a transparent layer over something in order to blend. And if you have complex gradients in there and you don't love the riddle of how to blend them all like Mural Joe does, then glazing is a very practical way to get a real nice result. You can see it fogs over real nicely. It's just not my default path because I'm always enjoying the process of mixing. All right.
Yeah, that worked well. I see the
super quick and easy. And I actually think that I've kind of misled a lot of people with making it seem like everything needs to be done with this wet on wet blending. I just do that because I like to, it really is just something I really enjoy doing. Rather
you gotta
than
enjoy the work.
Yeah.
It's a style. I think if you're enjoying it, people see that.
Yeah, but it's not that it's definitely not the only way to accomplish the look, All right, let's see if we can capture the essence of some ponderosa branches. I'm using my, I used my background color, but I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to use just the orange and yellow on this foreground because I've intentionally set the stage with a more pale color so that when I get to the foreground, these primaries are going to pop out and those background colors will look more hazy. So there's orange. I'm just leaving out the white. This one was, I didn't mean to use that. I need to go back and change that one. So this is just yellow and orange on top of my black. And I'm just doing these downward strokes to try to perhaps capture the look of some sunlit pine needles in here. Maybe pull the black up into them, get some streaks. You can see just the colors by themselves have this nice contrast with the background that I made more pale. Let's see, let's put a little bit more. I love when a dark object just crashes through a gradient. Like here's a soft gradient. And one of my favorite things in layering pictures is when a solid object, a solid edge, preferably an object that I like the look of, but cuts through a gradient because this creates so much depth. If I had a solid color, if this was all solid and there was no gradient, then this branch that I'm painting coming across would not have the same depth look. There's still depth, but this enhances it. This makes it more, it kind of maximizes it. Perhaps that's the right way to say that. I want to have maximized depth just because I like it. I like
Nice.
depth. I want to walk into the picture. So when it cuts across a gradient, it's more effective than when it cuts across a solid color. Solid colors can be perfectly fine for a picture, but this is just a trick to know. When you want something to really come forward, then having a gradient behind it is more powerful than a solid color behind it.
Good. What do you think about after you finish up this pine tree, getting some review on the art that people have sent in?
Great idea. Great idea. Let's do that. We're going to do some bright, sunny needles using my orange and yellow. It's kind of fun leaving them not all the way blended. Kind of like seeing the little bits of orange. Kind of a painterly effect in there. Do some bright yellow, put some orange in here. So I got something exciting coming up. I was just having a conversation with the local manager of the juvenile detention center, who have been some really good clients of mine. And I'm very excited. It looks like I may be doing some art lessons over there with the detainees, with the juveniles that are actually in-house there. So that'll be an exciting
awesome opportunity. You can make a big impact.
Could. I don't know. Is it, it's always very enjoyable feeling like you're bringing something happier to a place, making a place happier. So if I'm able to be that guy, that'd be a real privilege for me. I would really enjoy it.
I think not just make it happier, but you've got juveniles that got to choose a path in life.
And they
might not choose the right one, and you might be giving some of them an opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? I don't have to go to college and get a doctorate in AI studies. I can go paint and create beautiful work for people.
Perhaps. Yeah. You don't know. But, it's something that I've thought about doing. I felt, it's gone from just a thought to something that might actually happen. I'm feeling excited about that. Hopefully it does. I'll keep you posted. Very protected environment there, so you can't just turn on a camera and share it all. But
yeah.
But it's, I like to talk about it though. It's something that I really enjoy. I got another mural project coming up there, so we're trying to plan what the next mural project's going to be. I wonder if my time-lapse, I think I have a time-lapse video of my last job. I never did get the time-lapse finished of that big aspen forest scene.
Yeah, we heard a lot about it. The hype is there. I think everyone's waiting to see the.
I know. I was editing the video, getting the time-lapse together. I might have a preview available that I can show. Here's a fun way to do tree bark. You just do these down. Sorry, I'm kind of going way off camera here. Let's change this. Here we go. I'm putting this tree way over on the edge here, and I'm going to zoom in so that you can see. I want to zoom in so that you can see how I do this tree bark. I have to totally change this. This distant lake doesn't make sense now. I need to put the ripples are way too big. It's like the scale doesn't match. So look, this is fun. With these ponderosa trees, orange. It's the step-by-step. Put a bunch of orange. It's okay for there to be black in that brush. Then you do black, and the black is gonna get pushed apart and leave dark streaks, and you stop before it's all mixed. Now I have black streaks. Now I'm gonna get some white, and I'm gonna put it only on the orange areas until there's no more orange left. So I'm gonna cover up all the orange, but the orange is still wet, so it's gonna be just a more natural tree bark looking orange color. You gotta have doing it on a tiny scale is a little more tricky. So we'll give ourselves some liberty to be messy here, but I'm aiming for the orange spots. And you can see that as the bright orange disappears and just the black is left, you end up with the perfect color change gradient, like what I was talking about earlier. The color changes as the brightness changes to get a very natural looking highlight on this tree. This is a great workflow to do tree bark quickly. All right, let me get some black around the other side of this. That I kind of lost some of my orange color. Let's put a little bit in this mid-tone here. Put a little of that. There we go. Put this trunk coming way up here. It's going to go way up out of the picture. All right. Now let's put a tree branch coming right across here. I hear some noise in the background there. You got people playing on this Saturday morning?
That's it. Yeah, it's a few of my boys. I've got boys too.
Nice. It's a good sound.
Yeah.
That's a good sound.
I think that's the sound of one of the brothers tickle torturing the youngest.
Nice. Sounds like a good time. Cool. All right. So we've got the morning sun coming across the tree here. I'm gonna do what you said, and we're gonna look at some people's art here. Very messy dabs to try to get the look of pine needles on this, but it's kind of fun that my messy dabs can actually look like something if I have these colors strategized well. All right, let's zoom out and see what we got so far. Here's our scene. We could use some distant water on there. Here, let's do a real quick edit on the distant water. Then we'll be done with this for a little while. Okay, I need to change the scale. I've got real big ripple scale, and distance happens on this little strip across the middle of the painting. So you don't need to change a whole lot of the picture. So if we have that reflection, I'm just going to take the colors I pre-mixed. Here's that tree highlight color. Here is the purple. And here's the green that made the blue. All right, and then we're just going to blend these together, go right up in here. And the important thing on my water is to keep the brush strokes very consistent. Don't let myself make X's. And don't let myself change the angle as it goes to a different part of the picture. The constant, consistent angle is a huge difference maker. You can go way abstract and impressionistic on water and still have it look like water if you are careful about this one element, the texture, the shape texture, because it's if you're asking me, it's very much based on patterns, shape patterns. So you can neglect all the rest, but if you get this shape pattern, then you can still have some real decent looking water. So very, very straight. I'm just very consistent. You might have a reason to change that angle at some point, but here, all right. Into the background, we got lots of little strokes, and there we can create distance. And you saw me just pile those colors on. I just picked the colors that were already there, but because I'm being real careful with the angles of my brush stroke, then I don't lose the feeling of water. I don't lose that. This is another one of those tricks that took me quite a while to understand, because I'm a detail person and I was looking at the anatomy, and I'm teaching people about the anatomy of ripples and the underwater color, all that stuff. And that's all very cool. But it was such a light bulb moment when I was in a hurry at some point to look at it, to just throw this together and realize, wow, in some ways, this looks better than the ones that I spend a lot of time trying to exact the details of the parts. All it is horizontal strokes with all the colors I see mixed together, and then just making sure they stay consistent. There's some nuance to the different, you get all kinds of, when you just put primary colors on and let them mix, you get all these millions of different mix ratios that actually create interest in the picture. I feel like these white streaks, I like those little white streaks that just happen from it not mixing all the way Okay. You doing good there, Jonathan?
Yeah.
It's
And
on.
Tom Henney wants to know, what do you use to draw your murals on the wall before you paint that doesn't bleed through the paint?
I just use a paintbrush. I use watered down black paint or watered down white paint, depending on how dark or light my mural ultimately is to be. A brush like this one, something that can get for a big mural, any brush is good, but I'll just water it down, and I'm going to use my sharp brush on this. I'm going to take this one. This one I cut the edges. I sliced it here. I sliced it here. So just the middle has bristles now.
But I think it looks good how it is. I think you should.
The painting.
The people want to see their art reviewed.
Yeah, I'm going to get to it.
There's going to be an uprising if you don't.
Get to that. Okay, my bad. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We need to get to that. So see this brush, it's watered down paint. So it's very easy to come in here and draw lines. I can sketch all kinds of lines in here with this. Let's turn this into more tree branches, perhaps. Maybe we got a bird in here. There. This is how I sketch them. That's how I sketch the picture, just with a brush like that. And of course, that's watered down, so it won't leave any heavy texture. And it's just paint, so it won't bleed through. Let's look. This was fun experiment on our painting here.
It's cool to see that transform from last week's painting to.
We got like an open background now. Okay, cool. All right. We got to look at some pictures. Let's see what we've got in the email. Give me a minute to mess around with my computer here. Let's see. I'll show you this here. Let's see if we can get this screen expanded. Here's my time-lapse video so far. This is it. I'm going to see if I can make this screen bigger. I'm sure that there's a way. I'm sure that we have a way to do this. Hang on. Let's grab that. Here we go. Play. Yeah, that's it. There we go. This is my time lapse so far.
Yeah, you're up there. Wow.
Yeah. That I think it doesn't look so high in the picture, but when I was up at the top, I felt like I was up. But the thing is, that vaulted ceiling above this mural, there's a vaulted ceiling that's almost double the height. It's almost the same height as the wall itself because it's such a steep pitch on the vaulted ceiling. I volunteered to paint the trusses that went all the way to the peak. It was kind of one of those moments where you second guess whether you should have opened your big mouth. I was like, they were talking about, how are we going to match the trusses to the wood color that's throughout the house? I said, I can just paint that on and make it match. And then everyone's like, you can do that? Oh yeah, I can do it. Next thing I know, I'm like 35 feet up on super wobbly scaffolding with the step ladder on top of a wobbly scaffolding using tie down straps to anchor to so I don't shake. I was nervous as heck, man. So nervous. But
yeah,
the mural,
I would be too. And then you got to focus on the beam while you're doing that and not on the fact that you're on 35 feet of scaffolding and wobbling everywhere.
Yeah. The mural was much more peaceful, much more relaxing to execute that picture. This is where I accidentally left the camera on. Still got to edit out those little pieces. This is it. That's about the finish right there. I did that, and then I got I did all the little eyes on the trees last. I do those last because I wanted to get the gradients in place on the tree trunks. You want all the depth, the gradients, that stuff. I don't want to come back and edit that after I've got the details of the dark trees on there, So the detail pass was very fun. It's very satisfying to come across something with gradients just how you want them and then put the details in there. Real satisfying because it feels like you get a lot out of every little stroke. That's it. That's the picture.
How long did you spend there on the aspens?
Um, I was there. It was probably about a month in hours, and my days tend to be pretty short. So it was more than a month in time, but in build hours, it was like a month where that one took a while, and they wanted high detail. That customer really wanted the higher detail level. Okay, I'm going to open up the inbox. Let's see. Yeah, we got some in here. Look, we've got this one from. Let me make sure I open these before here. Let's look at the painting while I open these first, just in case. Just in case. All right. Here are a couple things I have worked on recently, says Susan McMillan. And here's one that I missed. This is 10 days old. I'm sorry, Susan. My bad. That is my bad for not getting to this. If you're out there, thank you so much for sharing your work and for watching. I did not even share. 10-day-old email here. Beautiful blue shadows in that. That's kind of what I was trying to accomplish in mine. See, trying to get blue shadows and orange light. Mine feels like a little more on the less exaggerated side. This one did a real good job of amplifying the effect. Nice artistic style. I really like that. Really like that. And absence of detail. This kind of is a tribute to what we were talking about. Absence of detail is no problem because it's imagined as long as you don't insert detail in an awkward way. So absence is never a problem. I'm going to go to another one here. She's got some good work. Jonathan, you're in the way.
Well, got you. Move me.
All right. Here, let's look at this one. Nice. Beautiful. This looks like a watercolor. I'm assuming that's watercolor. Beautiful picture.
That's got to be, yeah.
I love the simplicity. Nice gradients. Man, I always appreciate a gradient that doesn't have excessive green because paint likes to turn green so much. So beautiful job. The yellow to the red to the black looks real nice in this. I love the way that gradient looks. Nice reflection too. Kind of another one where there's a lot of freedom to let imagination fill in blanks. That's kind of the style here. I like it. It has like this dreamy vibe to it.
It was meant to be that these all waited for this week.
Yeah, that's it. They're using the same kind of stuff. Beautiful work. Love the orange glow in the sky. Nice perspective on your landscape. You got the tiny bits of texture. Good job scaling the texture. You don't have big brush strokes in your background that look like large shapes, and then bigger brush strokes here. Great perspective. I like it. Nice job.
You can see it going downhill. You can see the
yeah.
It doesn't look like just perspective going off in the distance, but she captures the downward view.
That's true. That's true. It does have a downward slope kind of feel to it, doesn't it? That's very good. Nice work. I like it. Let's look at some more. We've got also in here, we've got one from, here's one, that one we were just looking at was Susan McMillan. Here's one, Jennifer says, mural help, please. And I apologize, Jennifer. I did not get to this one quickly either. And, I did a quick reply to it, but let's give it a little bit better coverage this time. So she needs to work with the corner. This one is about addressing the corner. And so if you find yourself in this situation, Jennifer, don't feel obligated to implement anything I show on here. This mural looks fantastic. I'm sure the customers are real happy with it. But here's something that can make your life easier when you're doing corners. I'll show you. If we go to the app and we put, we're going to get to this one too. We're going to get to that picture too. But right now we're going to import Jennifer's picture. Give me a minute to import this. Which one was that? I believe it was this one right here. And so if we take this picture, let me get rid of that sidebar. When you're working with corners, you can see that we have a peak right here. See how these go up and then it goes up. If you do a straight line on each wall, so you're working on your perspective and you're keeping lines level to do your ground work. And then you have this problem where you hit a corner where the natural perspective that we can see in the photo, as you go down lower on the wall, it's creating a peak right here. It's creating peaks. It doesn't create a peak here because we're at eye level. That's how you can tell how tall the camera holder is because we can see where the level line is. So we know that whoever took this picture is about this tall right here. So we see those level lines. So that area doesn't need attention, but you can actually reverse this effect by changing the angle of your strokes. If we draw a level line right across here, I'm just going to go like this, draw a level line, then we can zoom out. Now you can see that if we put this on the wall, we're going to have one that slopes down toward the corner on this left wall. We'll have one that slopes down toward the corner on this right wall. And this doesn't have to be geometric lines. It can just be the direction you make your brush strokes. Just like my water has a direction to the brush strokes, not necessarily a continuous line. So we're just talking about brush stroke direction, texture direction. So you can change that, and what you end up doing is you end up bending things down toward the corner because the natural perspective is going to bend things up toward the corner, and you're canceling it out so that you can maintain the look of a level surface through it. So we can do that. We can take some of these colors. I'll just use the smear tool for the whole thing. We can just go like this. Brush strokes that go this way. See, we're going down toward the corner. But on the wall itself, if we were looking square at the wall, then the lines are further apart at the corner than they are here. So they actually flare out. Let me give you an example. Whoops, not that tool. They actually, if we're looking square at the wall, our lines might look like this. Just ignore the picture behind it. See how they're wider here, they flare out because that's going to be further away. Therefore, it's going to get closer together in the photo. And as people are sitting at their tables looking at it, the same will be true. So we're just doing reverse perspective on it. So when I come in here and start smearing these lines down toward the corner, I'm flaring it out so that I'm keeping them level up here. See that we can see the level line going across. So this is eye level right here. This is somebody standing up. Their head would be about right here. Whoever's holding the camera anyway. This is camera height. This is a better way to say it. This is camera height. So we can just make these angles like this. They kind of flare and go down. And if you do this in a mural, it makes your corners look really nice. So watch, I'll just make that one go away, and I'm just going to go like this. But you can, it's like nothing complicated what I'm doing. I'm just painting texture that goes down toward the corner. That's all I'm doing. And when you do that, it creates a texture that spans right across a corner, and then the corner feels more like a window than it does a wall. And then that's, to viewers, that actually is I think an attractive look. The corner is not like a nuisance that you want to make go away. It ends up being like a cool feature to the mural where it feels like it's spanning right across. So when you're doing this to all four corners, the question is, well, how do you slope it down both directions? Well, that's when you have to evaluate what people are looking at the most. But the way to do it to all four corners is to curve it. So this one might start curving level here. We might take these strokes. Sorry for destroying the rest of the picture, but I'm just showing the directions. Okay, so we start curving these. And so altogether, your texture has the same fisheye warped perspective as a wide angle camera. Like if you looked at a GoPro, then you would see that same kind of curved warping. So then when a person comes around, a person is looking more at this left corner, well, these lines start to slope down toward that corner as well. Same on this wall. You arch them because not very often is a person looking at both corners at the same time. That doesn't happen very often. So you're actually recreating very natural perspective. If you do that on flat surface, this is for ground when you're doing like ground surfaces. Same for clouds. If you're doing clouds, you can do the same thing. I'm sloping up now. We're going uphill on the wall. See these smeared, I'm just going to smear the TV so that we can see the lines. We can go like this. See, we go uphill so that in our picture, these clouds are going to have a perspective that looks like they're going right across the sky like this. But what that looks like in implementation is just going up toward the corner when you're above horizon. So knowing where your suspected viewer height is, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have viewers about this height. So the higher I get above horizon, the more I'm going to slope textures like this. I'm exaggerating it so you can see. The more I get below horizon, the more I'm going to slope textures like this. And then that makes your corners look really nice. Okay, that's my tip for addressing corners. Thank you very much for submitting your work here, Jennifer. It really is beautiful. You did a great job with that. And that's just a tip that to use if somebody wants to, but don't since I'm very late getting back to you, I'd hate for you to feel pressured to go back because your picture looks great. All right, Cornea's got something in here I can see. 2 recent paintings. Let's see what Cornea's been up to. Let's check it out. Oh, nice. I like that. That's cool colors. Cool concept. All right. I like the I like the Pokemon background. My kids would dig this Pokemon theme here. They really love that. But I haven't even seen these Pokemon themed drinks. I don't know if we have those here in the States. I don't know if we have those. Let me get a zoomed in look at this. That's pretty fun. I'm sure that there's a younger audience that's very excited about this kind of content.
Should we take an intermission so you can go find some online and
yeah,
maybe eBay has some for you. We can come back and we'll finish the painting.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah. Oh, nice work. I love the hard-lined illustrated style, the anime style that you've got in here. Great job. Human form is a hard thing. Good job getting all the different parts, the fingers, the neck. I see some collarbone in there. Good job with the head anatomy. You got, good job of not putting the eyes in a strange placement. A lot of things done really well here. Cool background. I like your fogged in galactic kind of cosmic background. Nice mix with your waterfall. That's a pretty cool thing. Let's see what else we got. We got a couple paintings to look at. Let's see what else Cornea has been up. Oh, we got a zoomed in picture. Okay.
Well, and she replicated the same piece twice, and it almost looks like a print. She did them so consistent to each other.
Let's check that out. Oh, yeah, you're right. We got 2. Yeah, you're right. Oh, is she making prints? Is that what's going on?
I don't think it's so prints. I think she did each one.
Wow, very cool. Okay, well, nice work. I love this. I just want to point out some little tiny thing. People have a hard time putting shadows on white objects. I just want to say you did that really well. Putting shadow on a white thing is tricky. And actually, that's the subject that we're going to move into because what's his name? I can't remember the name. We're going to find it here. Train Snow. This one is from, we're going to get to this one. This picture with the snow, the question is, why doesn't this look as much like snow? I think it does look just like snow. Great job, but we can do things to make it look more like snow. So I'm trying to remember the name. This is from Aaron. I'm sorry, Aaron. Sorry, I forgot your name. Aaron is working on this picture and wants the snow to look more natural. So we're going to work on that. Let's go in order, though. We got Jennifer. We got Cornea. Let's see what Gina's been doing some stuff. Well, we already looked at Gina's work. Let's see if we've got, let me go through my pictures real quick, make sure that we're not skipping some things. That's one I kept in the inbox for later reference. And, oh yeah, okay, so we're ready for the snow. Let's look at it. Okay, so Aaron It's making snow look more natural. We're going to go over here. I didn't want to accidentally skip anybody. Holler at me, Jonathan, if somebody's saying that I skipped them. We're going to import his picture here. And I'm getting ready to upload this app. I'm going to do that very soon. If anybody wants to tinker with it, I would love to get feedback on what bugs it has. It has bugs. It needs to go through that phase of getting them worked out. Any ideas are welcome. Let me know what you think and make it better. But it's just a very basic online app for tinkering with a picture, just like you see me doing. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. That thing I was talking about, we need color change balanced with value change. So here's a spot where we have a color change that doesn't have much value change. So that is an unexpected jump that gets interpreted as perhaps dirty snow, maybe some other material. It has a different look. We want something that just looks like the light gradient on snow. So see, we have this blue color. So what we're going to do, we're going to swatch that shadow color. Beautiful shadow color. I think it's great. You can make it bluer if you wanted to, but that's not what's necessary for this picture. We just need to get everything telling the same story. So I can see that you used a blue color there. Let's take it over to a purple, because what we want to go is go blue, purple, red, orange, yellow. Just like in the rainbow. I got a rainbow right here. So look, we go blue, purple, red, then we go to the other side. And then it goes to the orange, to the yellow. We're doing that same rainbow gradient to capture glow, but it doesn't mean that we put all of those colors literally. It just means that's the direction that it goes. So we're going to do very subtle versions of that. So we're going from the blue to a purple as the glow gradient. So let's go to the purple and let's make it a little bit lighter. I think it already is lighter. Let's see what color we're at. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, I think that'll work. Let's go a little darker. Maybe just a touch darker. Let's drag that little thing down. There we go. Touch darker. So this is going to be my intermediate color to replace where I see a brown, because that brown is like a dark yellow. What this tells me is that we started putting yellow in it before it was light like this. You don't want to put the yellow in until it gets very light in order to simulate that glow effect. So I want to make sure that that color I selected is still darker than the yellow. It is. Okay, so that's a good color. And I just want to say that almost matches what you've got here. And that's why I think those look very nicely done. I think those are really well done. Light and shadow contrast there, but we just need some consistency. So let's add it in. Let's go down here, and everywhere we see this color, we're just going to add this in. We're going to put a whole bunch of this in here, and let's put it in here. I think your concept is excellent. You just need a little bit of technical adjustment on the implementation here. So we're getting rid of the brown, replacing brown with this more purple color. Now, I want to get lighter because in the picture, your intention clearly is to get lighter with the color. So I'm not trying to reinvent your picture that you've got going. I'm going to stick with your layout, but just see what we can do to get the colors to do what you were hoping for. So we're going to use this color until we get into a lighter zone, and then we're going to move it toward red. We're going this way now. Okay, and I think that also got lighter. No, it didn't. Let's get lighter. There we go. So now you can see that it does, when I put it on here, it's probably just like mostly gray, but it looks like it's slightly more gold, right? Slightly more gold than what color we're coming from. So that's going to be my next stage of the gradient. And I'm just going to put that in here, leading up to some of these more gold colors. And then at a certain point, it's going to get light enough that we can just leave the gold color you've got in there. But wherever this is still darker, wherever your snow is still darker than this, I'm going to cover it up with this color. Okay, let's go in here. Let's get these. So all I'm doing is replacing areas that got very yellow a little bit too soon in the lightening process. Okay, now let's swatch the gold color that you've got in here. Let's use that, and we're going to start pulling that down into some of these. I'll just pull it down lower. It's a nice color. You've already got it in there. So I'm just going to put it down where we see places it can go. So we're just not putting that brown color that has yellow in the shadows. Keeping the yellow out of the shadows. That is the summary of this process. I can bring that bright color down here as far as we want to. It's a nice highlight color. It really is nice. Okay, let's blend. Let's use this and just let's soften up these gradients. Sorry if that's a little bit uncomfortable on the eyes, me zooming around. It's like watching my kids play a video game. You know, not especially relaxing, if you ask me. Okay, just blending those real quick. Here we go. There. See how this maintains the clean, icy look of something that doesn't have a color, because it's just implementing this glow gradient across it and not really favoring, it's not bent toward any color other than that gradient itself. So in a sense, it's just like keeping the colors more pure. So if I wanted to make a shadow on this now, I could take this color. Let's put a big shadow in front of this rock. Let's go like this. Let's enhance the blue a little bit here. Take some of the gray out of it. Kind of going with what you've already got. Let's put a big shadow, because that's a real dark face on that rock. You see, so that blue shadow goes nicely with the scene that's already put in place, because all we're seeing is the colors of the surrounding lights. We're not seeing a separate color from the object. So when you had that little bit of brown color from adding the yellow into the shadow, that's all we're doing. We're using the purple in between to make sure we don't add yellow to the shadow. So I hope this is helpful as you're constructing your snow scene. It's looking very cool. This is for a train set, says Aaron. He's working on a train set background. So I think that's going to be really cool. You can take this shadow and put it in anywhere. You know, pre-mixing these is real helpful. If you pre-mix this color and pre-mix this color and pre-mix this color, you know, not that, the gold, you know, the gold that's in it. Those three colors, that's your pre-mix. The blue, the purple, the gold, that will make beautiful clouds and snow every time without fail. Very reliable. And then you only use those as you're mixing rather than dipping into primaries. And then it'll keep your snow colors really consistent. Okay, let's move along. Great job with that, Aaron. Thanks for sharing your work. I really like it.
Yeah, Camilla says that she sent one in today as well.
Okay.
I don't know where it is in your chain, but
Camilla, she's got it at the top here. We've got two more to look at. We got Tom and then we got Camilla. Then we're going to call it a day. This one's from Tom. Finished this last week, 40 minutes before the mass began in church. The cross is a statue and the altar is real. Okay, let's check this out. Nice. Look at those clouds. And the Holy Spirit dove, the iconic Holy Spirit dove. Well, that is perfect. That just is so well done. Beautiful rays, beautiful glow gradient. I mean, this is like top-notch work, Tom. Excellent. Boy, thanks for sharing this. So this is that same glow gradient that I was talking about in the previous one. You know, we go from the more purple colors to the more red, to the more orange, to the more yellow. And finally, when we get to the almost white, that's the one that has the most yellow. Very simple way to organize to get the glow effect. It's ethereal, it's translucent, you know. Man, beautiful work. These colorful shadows. You know what it makes me think of? Turn around. Tell me what you see. Remember? Never ending story. That's the nothing.
Sorry, I missed that one.
Man, that's a classic movie. You ever go back and watch that just for fun?
I have gone back and watched it, but it seemed like it never ended. So
this could double as Falcor. You'd probably get in trouble if Falcor was in there, but Falcor would fit nicely. Okay.
If it in a different place, if it wasn't in a chapel.
Yeah, we're gonna do this. Okay. Falcor. Look, I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean here. We're gonna get Falcor. This is what I think should be in there. Right here. See? There they are. A good luck dragon. It's the good luck dragon. Okay. I don't really think that you should put Falcor, but the background totally reminded me. The background in that movie is so mesmerizing. They have all like lava lamp looking clouds everywhere. It's really cool. Fun movie for an artist to watch. Okay. I got slightly distracted. That's what we're here for, is to get distracted.
Slightly distracted.
Yeah, slightly distracted. Let's look at Camilla's. Let's see what she's got going on. Finally, I got around to paint some glass stones. Oh, and she was the one that put in the suggestion for a glass stone video. Excellent work, Camilla. Look at that. Beautiful. A beach full of glass stones. Awesome. Boy,
what is this painted on? This looks like a round.
Good question. It looks
a
like
tabletop or a serving platter or just a round canvas.
I was thinking we were looking at a square canvas and that was painted. I'm realizing it's a circle canvas on the grass, sitting on the grass for the photo. Nice. That's beautiful.
Hey, Peter says that he came for the painting tips but stayed for the singing of Never Ending Story. I think maybe you missed your goal as a rock star, Joe. Have you thought about giving up art and just going into singing?
I'm a little under the weather. I could have done it better. I really could have aced that song.
We'll do round 2 next week. When you're feeling better, we'll see this.
Yeah. Thank you. I like to sing a little in my spare time. This is beautiful work, Camilla. Excellent job. And you even got the little twinkles. Recently did a short video on putting the sun twinkles on the water. You did that great.
There they are. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, beautiful. Your gradient here. I always admire gradients because they're such a big difference maker in a picture. So job well done with that.
Capturing that having water, but then the sand coming up underneath. That's hard to do.
Yeah, it is. And she did that very well. Yeah, very nicely done. Beautiful work, Camilla. Beautiful. Okay. I really like the effect you put in the translucent stones. That's the translucent gradient shows up everywhere. It's that glow gradient. You could go back if anybody wants to see the video I did on this. Camilla did an excellent job of executing that same pattern. I did one of the live streams, probably like 3 live streams ago. If you just look through the live videos, one of them is on this subject. This was it. Most of you here probably are familiar. Preaching to the choir. Okay, I got to go. I'm late for a hike. I got to go up the mountain here with the group that we hang out with. And that's at 9 o'clock. That starts at 9. So I went overtime here. So I have to rush out. Thanks, Jonathan. Really appreciate you being your help. It was a pleasure having you on board.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll see everybody next week. We send out emails. Jonathan's also been very helpful in sending out newsletters, keeping us up to speed on the live streams. But we're shooting for just doing these regularly, Saturday mornings, 7 a.m. Arizona time. That's the usual schedule. So thanks, everybody. All right, Jonathan.
Thank you. Have a good one.
We're getting out of here.